funny that you asked. Someone showed me here. I'm gonna show that me and Jeremy were talking earlier, and he linked me here. Well, I don't think there's actually any way for me to show this. He linked me to this Reddit thread, so I just clicked it from the Skype link, and I went down to the picks and bans, and this is a complete disaster in terms of pick bans. However, once I watched the game, alright, now, this is a disaster in terms of picks and bans. Okay, this is a complete disaster out of NRG. Okay, because the only way they are ever winning this game is if these conditions are met. They win all 3 lanes. They go even in top and bottom, and Varus goes off completely, because Varus is the only driving force for them in this team comp. It is completely nonsensical, okay, to do the picks and bans that they did, okay? Now, the other thing is, so what happens here? So they banned out Lulu as well, okay? Now, obviously, Lulu can't fit into... Now, I just want to point this out because there were some people that messaged me saying that the Lulu ban was weird. I don't think the Lulu ban is completely weird because I don't think that you can prevent Huni from getting Lissandra or Lulu if they are electing to go with these comps. Okay, that's just something that we need to point out, number 1. So, you first pick Corki, they respond with Lissandra Lucian. Okay, that's fine. Alright, you respond with a rotation of Nidalee Alistar. Now, you've showcased your jungler. Basically for no reason. There's no reason to do this, okay? And not only did you showcase your jungler, you showcased a jungler that is very linear. And in this day, because of how Nidalee operates, is also usually only representative of one type of style. So why are you showcasing it that early on? Why are you showcasing the basic fundamental engine of your team this early in the pick and ban phase? Now, that's fine. And obviously, if people listen to me say this, you can find every single little angle to disagree, and it's going to be never ending because we are not robots. We can't come to an end conclusion on what the answer is. However, I would argue probably vehemently that Nidalee is just a bad pick all around right here. So then Immortals responds Rengar Janna. Okay, so they respond jungle support. Alright, and they leave their mid with the counter pick, which is a standard thing by red side. Especially in the past, it was a very standard thing, and I think it's a very nice move that can regain initiative, and it can basically make you act as white instead of black, if we relate it to chess terms. And then, NRG goes... Literally, they come straight out of left field. They're like the person that walks into the sheriff's station claiming that their niece was just abducted and impregnated by aliens, okay? And they show us Maokai Varus, and it's just like, what? Like, the Varus pick just makes no sense. It makes absolutely just no sense whatsoever, okay? And I just want to get that out there. Because now the entire team comp suddenly goes from being Corki Nidalee focused to Varus focused, which share the same exact component. It's like, I mean, I can give analogies that are making sense in my head from other games on why this is not a good idea. And I guess it's a little bit weird that I think so much about other games when I see these picks and what it just means because of historically what it meant in those other games and how closely they are tied together. But it just doesn't make any sense. So if there is ever an argument for a pick and ban disaster, this will be one of the games. So if you saw me on Twitter, I made a tweet that I said that 20% of games, 20% or less than 20% of games, are actually decided by picks and bans. This is eligible to be one of them. Is it one of them? We're going to find out. So now we're going to go into the game. All right. Let's see. Where is it? Okay. I'm going to pause. We're going to play this at ×2 because I'm not watching it ×1. All right. Just going to let that buffer. And then we're going to hit play. All right. So that's all that we have to do. But the Varus pick just doesn't make any sense. Makes literally no sense. The Janna pick is so nice, though, because it already... Like, The Janna pick is nice because it negates any chance for NRG to somehow try to mutate their comp. You know, like it's just really nice. It just completely throws that axe in there. It's really good. It's really, really, really good. Okay. All right. Let's see if this is buffered. Nope, not quite. All right. So we're gonna start soon. We are gonna go full screen, by the way. Let's just hope that it starts. Okay. All right. We're gonna go full screen. All right. Let's see here. Alright, I will skip the intro a little bit. We already saw the picks and bans, so that's fine. The other problem with this composition is now you have to build 3 QSSs. You need the QSSs for Lysandra, and you need the QSSs for Zed, and the only champion that it grants you EV against is the utility-centric champion, which is Lysandra. Because Lys does not need to be dealing damage. She can get away with building damage because of who her jungler and her mid laner are. So she can either go the route of full utility tank, or she can go the route of off tank, if she really wants to, because she can get away with it in this instance. So you give up so much room. All right. This is so cool. Is this a hack? I mean, it has to be a hack. That's so cool, though. Do they go 3? Done. Alright, Corrupting Potion against Zed. I guess that's fine. Okay, this is fairly standard. Now remember, we're playing at ×2, and I'm probably not going to pause. I may pause sometimes, but... Let me move this out of the way. NRG initiates line swap. This is good, the Alistar room, because Alistar has like dual potential for any sort of shenanigans that can occur on the jungler or the mid laner early on. Some champions that would fall into that caliber of or that type of champion would be like Morgana, Leona. Leona in some ways, Morgana mostly, Thresh definitely. But there's a lot of champions that can't do that. So it's good. Now they do a 3-man. This is fine. Now who are they going to give it to? I guess you give it to Lys. Give it to Lys. Do not share it. What? Okay, so NRG gave the turret to Maokai. And this is fine. Let me go back really quick. Okay. This is fine. The speed at which NRG rotates them down is good. This is optimal. And now Nidalee only has East jungle pressure, so that's really nice because that means that her red jungle will be relatively healthy and there's no reason to go top lane. So now the problem though with Immortals is if you rotate now Lucian, you can't rotate Lucian and Janna back top, which they don't, so they send Huni up there, which is good. Okay, so this is all fine. Janna goes for the warding route, which is good. And the wards are very good right now. This is very close to ideal, which is nice to see. When Rengar comes in here, kind of doesn't make any sense. I think this is a period where NRG knows that there's no reason for Rengar to be on the left-hand side, or he shouldn't be on the left-hand side because it's negative EV. And he should just be looking to match Moon on the right-hand side, and I think this is a pretty nice timing to just get some farm up. Nidalee knows that, and Nidalee is just on the right-hand side of the map, which is what I said she should be doing, so it's good by Moon, because she has no EV on the left side. Maybe Reignover knows that, and he went on the left-hand side as like a leveling process, but I guess it didn't pan out. But the problem with leveling processes is this isn't necessarily a game where you need it that much, and if you are a better team, which you would assume that I guess Immortals is, at this point in time, you would assume that they don't need to do range type stuff like that. So that's fine. Now the recall here is standard. Zed coming back into mid lane, and now Rengar, what is he? He's 5? Is he about to be 6? I can't see his XP bar. If he's about to be 6, this is really good, and then having Adrian up there with him as well is really smart as well. However, you should be able to read this as NRG. So the fact that Alistar isn't mid right now, and the reason that I mean he should be in mid is so that he can cover both angles. He can cover top lane if Maokai gets shoved in and they make it look like they want to dive, because Zed could go for a Chinese style mid shove in 4-1 dive on top, and if they do that, then obviously NRG responds with the dragon, which is the only response that is available out of NRG, and then they rush to get bottom tower. But if that ends up happening, then it opens up the game for IMT, because then it forces IMT to have 2 Bank of America lanes, and NRG is on the defensive, which they don't want to be doing, because it means that they're forced to overextend inside of side lanes, which is exactly what IMT wants them to do when they have a Rengar inside of their comp, and they have so much gap close and angle pressure via Lysandra. Teamfight is good. NRG does exactly what they don't need to do. So you look at bot lane, okay? You look at bot lane, you look at top lane. Why did NRG do that? No reason. Just a complete macro blunder, okay? There's absolutely no reason to do this. Now, some people might argue that obviously you don't want MIT to be able to make use of the side lanes and stuff, but they couldn't make use of the side lanes because Immortals dropped it. They dropped the ball on controlling the side lanes properly. So because they dropped the ball, you as NRG should just be like, okay, you guys really messed up. I guess you don't want to win. And then just embrace it. Right? You keep Alistar mid-centric, and the reason that you keep him mid-centric is to counteract the ability of Rengar and to counteract the ability of Zed, being inside of Immortals comp. And then with that being happened, Janna doesn't benefit from anything, because Janna is not there as a proactive gank support. She is there as a insurance policy when it comes to ganks. Now, if she was a little bit different, if she was like Leona or something, she would be a proactive gank support. But she is not a proactive gank support in the sense that when she was going to top lane, you heard me say that it was good. And there's a lot of moves that can come out of that. Now this is interesting because they're choosing to devote their Baron thing to mid lane, and this doesn't make any sense. Now, Corki being down here, this is what I was talking about. You see how far back Corki is? And this is the Rengar component, and this is what ends up happening. So if Immortals now, Immortals has messed up the lanes, now they're getting the dragon, which is good, but it doesn't make it acceptable because they've already fumbled the lanes. This is bad by Zed. This is completely bad. There's no reason to have Zed be doing this. They benefit from the lanes being in the middle. They're just doing things that are bad. Now imagine if top looked the way that it was, and then you waited for Maokai, okay, and then you just have Varus poke because he has the tier. And did he have blue? I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking at his surrounding. Did he have blue? Another thing that NRG should be doing is they should be playing around Varus's blue. I guess he did not have blue, so we're just gonna go forward. So these are complete blunders, macro-wise. There's no reason for them to be forcing stuff the way that they're doing. It just doesn't make any sense. They should not be moving past these 2 pillars right here. These flames. It's a no-go territory. The onus is on Immortals to find openings. If you simply restrict their ability to find openings and you suffocate the vision area in which their only openings are allowed, then what do? They can't do anything. Because when the game accelerates this fast, it actually doesn't benefit Immortals. Now, Immortals didn't necessarily make too big of macro blunders, but they did make some. And when you make some macro errors like this, with a team comp like this, you can end up potentially throwing away the game. But NRG is playing into their hands, and they're not rotating efficiently. This doesn't make any sense. Imagine a 4v4 in mid lane right now with just Varus poking. What do? You drop a pink ward defensively on both sides. Rengar can't do anything. You laugh at Zed, and you just lock the lanes on top and bottom. You don't care, because they don't actually need dragons. NRG does not, because the way that NRG sieges a tower is just like this, okay? Dragons are irrelevant for it, because if they succeed in poking out Immortals, they get the tower regardless. So the dragons are irrelevant for them. Now, Immortals actually needs the dragons because of how their comp operates, and they accelerate. Their comp is built off of acceleration, and it's built off of momentum, and it's built off of NRG not understanding vision control and overextending in terms of vision, and not knowing what their comp is supposed to do and what Immortals comp is supposed to do. Because when you play League of Legends, it's not just what you're supposed to be doing, it's what does the enemy comp want to do? How do they want to go about playing the game? What are their strengths and weaknesses? What is their strength against our biggest weakness? What is their biggest weakness against our biggest strength? And then you use that to determine the highest percentages for, well, if we go about the game this way, what is the likelihood of it producing a positive result? If we go about the game this way, etc. Now, a lot of people think that, well, there's no way to coach that, or that's not important. No, bullshit. It's very easily to be coached, and it's very easy to be taught if you want to learn it. Because it's not difficult to learn, because it's a basic fundamental. This is irrelevant. Now, do the picks and the picks and bans, do they matter in how the comps are supposed to play out? Yes. Have we already seen, though, that neither team is using their comps? Well, Immortals has used it. Immortals has used some of their advantages given by their comp, and they've capitalized on those advantages sometimes. But has there really been an instance yet where the fact that NRG's comp is so far behind that they haven't been given chances to salvage? No. There's no pick and ban issue here. I mean, there is. This game is eligible to be called a pick and ban catastrophe. It is a pick and ban catastrophe. But does it seem like it's being demonstrated as such, that it's a pick and ban catastrophe? No, it's not. There is nothing to show that, if you're just watching the game and you have no idea about picks and bans and stuff, you would think that this is a relatively even game. This is not supposed to be an even game. This is supposed to be a complete blowout. What are they doing right here? You know what I mean? This doesn't make any sense. Now go 4 bot. 4 bot, 4 bot, 4 bot, because that's the only thing they can do. 4. God damn it. If they just go 4 bot, they laugh at Rengar, they laugh at Zed. Okay? And that is what Immortals doesn't want. And then Immortals they didn't necessarily mess up. They did what they were supposed to do, and then the ball is back in NRG's court to do what they're supposed to do. If NRG flops it and doesn't do what they're supposed to do, then Immortals comes out with a huge edge, which is what basically just ended up occurring. So when Zed pushes in top, so let me just rewind really quick. Okay? So right here. So this is why I said, what are they doing? Alright? So Zed and Rengar push in top. Alright? Now, you see what's going on here. Maokai doesn't have teleport. Okay? Now, because they benefit from... Immortals benefits from what? Open side lanes. Okay? They benefit from fighting from side angles. They benefit from... Here, let me open this up. They benefit from attacking from here. They benefit from this. They benefit from that. They benefit from this. They benefit from all of this, and they benefit from this. Okay? Let me just use a different color. Okay? They benefit from this white area. Okay? They benefit from this, and they benefit from the red lines. Okay? Immortals does not benefit from a straight up fight. Okay? So if, for some reason, you can vision control the red lines and negate the white circles from ever occurring, then Immortals gets hurt. They are hindered in their approach to any sort of a fight and any sort of macro rotations. Now, Maokai doesn't have what? He doesn't have teleport. So what happens now, if you surrender the pawn in mid, Okay. Now, it doesn't, just because a piece is really valuable, it doesn't mean that you don't ever sacrifice it, right? I mean, if you play chess, you know about queen sacrifices. You know about, sacrificing a bishop or a rook, a knight, etc. for position. That's exactly what this is, because you acknowledge that your team comp benefits from this actually being gone if the opposing team has shown time and time again that they do not know how to fight against your team's weaknesses. So with that being said, you can just keep Zed in top right now. You can surrender this, because then if Zed is in top and Rengar, if we go back even further, okay, and Rengar stays there as well, now they can send Maokai there, which is fine, okay. So if they send Maokai there, Maokai is not too strong. He is at a power spike timing because he has his one item, etc. But then if Maokai comes there, so let's say Maokai walks around here like this, okay? Does Zed necessarily need a recall right now? Or does Rengar necessarily need a recall? Not necessarily, okay? Because NRG hasn't had a very healthy recall. They haven't necessarily hit a power spike on all of their champions. Now, they have, in some cases, they have the Triforce on Corfi, they have the Manamune, I was about to say Muramana, on Varus, okay, and they have the blue buff on Varus. But there's no reason that they can't trade mid-tower for superior position, is all that I'm saying. They have not hit a power spike yet that would enable them to keep going. So if this tower falls, they could keep going. Now we see that even though they recalled Rengar, even though they recalled Zed, they still lost mid-tower, okay, which comes down to foresight. Which means that you can go back in time, you can reverse engineer the VOD, and you can know that that would happen regardless, even though that's something that you want to happen. So rather than try to prevent it, rather than try to save the queen, rather than try to save the bishop, and rather than try to have your cake and eat it too, instead just play against NRG's weaknesses, which is what they're not doing. And okay, so what I wanted to say here was the four-man. Now, I wish I could see how much gold they were holding, but I can't see it. Where is it? It's right here, right? Yeah, it's right here. Okay. So this. You see this? Why does this happen? Ask yourself. Why does it happen? Who initiated this fight? Immortals. Okay. Does that mean that it needs to occur? No. Is that NRG's choice that it occurs? No. Does NRG need to get this mid tower? No. We've already established that getting the mid tower actually doesn't do anything for NRG. Does it benefit them slightly in terms of gold? Yes. Does it benefit them in terms of position? Technically, yes. Have they shown that they can use or benefit from the positional advantages that it could theoretically provide them in some cases? Yes. Will they? No. So because of that, it doesn't matter. All right. So this is a coin flip. These are like the 60-40s, the 70-30s, etc. that I talk about. Now, if they rotate to bottom, okay, and they concede their tier 1 tower, all right? So what you're going to do is you concede the tier 1, and you just rotate to bottom. Immortals doesn't have an angle of approach, and because they don't have an angle of approach, even though you're willing to concede your tier 1 tower, you have a superior dragon recall, and you have superior vision control over dragon, and that's perfect. Like, because there's nothing else that you need to be doing, because now you need to be shifting into the engine of, like, a catapult. You need to go into catapult mode. And catapult mode is like, you only fight when Varus has blue, you fight around Varus's power spikes, and you move as one. You don't move to the side lane, you don't push out the lane. Corki, what are you doing? Corki, don't shove that lane. I don't know what you're doing down. Alright, he doesn't shove it. That's good. And then Huni pings that bot shoved in, and this is fine. And this is what they need to do. NRG needs to acknowledge that they are now in a defensive mode. They are Terran from StarCraft 1. They are literally playing the Siege Tank and Vulture-style Terran versus Protoss. This is all they need. Well, as long as they have this ground and this is controlled by them, and they make sure that the adequate they have adequate warding and the the spots where they need the proper pink wards and they need the proper wards are covered so that the angle of attack from Rengar and Zed is basically nullified or it's prevented, then they win the game. Because the onus, again, is on IMT to find cracks in NRG's armor and then break through and exploit it, right? But they haven't shown us that they're doing that yet. So if they just control and fortify this location, and an objective like Baron or Dragon comes up, they need to group up. Maokai is more than capable of holding down one of the lanes by himself. You want this conceded, okay? And the reason that you want this conceded is why? Well, if you've ever played Risk, okay, it's very difficult to defend Asia. All right, in Risk or whatever. I actually don't know how it's drawn out in Risk, but you know what I'm talking about. And there is like 7 entrances. This is not exact, by the way. There's like 7 entrances to Asia in Risk. It's disgusting. Okay, now imagine that you're playing Risk and you could control Asia and get the same exact amount of soldiers per turn, etc., but only have to defend 3 areas. Of course you just want to defend the 3 areas. It doesn't make any sense not to. So this is actually hurting NRG. Anything they invest into the defense of this tower is negative. It has negative returns. The ROI on it is bad, okay? So it doesn't make any sense. Let this die. And then when you let it die, look at your defense. This is it, okay? Do you see this small little hump right here? Okay? You don't want that anymore. You want that to fall. That is a bad business. So imagine like you're a chain of restaurants. You are a chain of Chipotle, and this Chipotle generates, you know, negative 10,000 every month. Just get rid of it. Just throw it out. Okay? Now, don't try to be optimistic and say, well, what if we can have that one live too? That would be great for our business. No, it's not great for your business, and the people will find jobs elsewhere. So, anyways, with that being said, that's all you need to do. And then when Dragon and Baron comes up, you execute a 1XX4. And what I mean by XX4, I mean situationally, you will move as 4 in a location or a direction that will benefit your team and suffocate Immortals' approach on you. Okay? So again, we're already 18 minutes into this game, and we have not seen one example of the picks and bans. We just haven't. And obviously, could you nitpick if you really want to be willfully ignorant and you can find examples of it? Of course. In the big picture of things, even in the medium, you know, and like not even in the big, you can go medium. It doesn't mean anything. We've already shown that there's been too many blunders macro-wise, too many blunders micro-wise, that the picks and bans would matter. They don't. They should. Absolutely they should. But at this point in time, they hold no relevancy. They only hold relevancy to someone that wants an excuse for why they lost. As for someone that wants to justify, you know, like, oh, well, you only lost because of this. No, you didn't lose just because of that. You lost because you got outplayed on a macro scale, okay? Now, maybe in some cases, okay, you are going to lose because of, you know, picks and bans. Maybe it will happen, but not as much as people like to think. I have not seen one instance where, I mean, obviously it was a few instances maybe where something occurred, but not seen anything that would go, oh, okay, well, this is really brutal to work around, or this is, you can't work around this, you can't salvage it, this is just checkmate. What? Why did he just use that there? Wasn't that his special delivery? What? Look at all the investments into QSS and how early it has to occur. It doesn't have to occur this early if they were already doing the slow engine. You can easily go... Now, one thing I will point out, which is really intelligent, okay, is look at this. Notice the tier 1 boots. And notice where the tier 2 boot is. This is really minor. This is super intelligent, and it's really smart by NRG and the players. Because they acknowledge that they do not actually need to be running around, and it is bad to be running around. So just having the tier 1 boots and just simply matching Immortals at where they need to be enables them to benefit, or to have a bigger, you know, punch in the fights, because naturally they should only be on the defensive. Now, this is an example. Why are you this far up? Why are you doing this? Doesn't make any sense. Your comp's not supposed to do this. You are not fighting around Varus. Doesn't make sense to move out this far. Your items do not benefit from moving out this far. Immortals wants you to come out. It's sort of like, you know, imagine that there, you know, you're playing an MMO and there's an area on the map where players can gank you and kill you and get your items. That is what Immortals is preying on. Okay? They want you to step outside those grounds and pounce on you. What they don't want you to do is stay inside your castle because eventually they're going to starve. Okay? These people are going out and killing zombies when in reality the zombies are going to starve themselves. It doesn't make any sense. Now, some people in chat are talking about power spikes. There are no power spikes right now. People throw around these terminologies like it holds merit in every single situation. There is no power spike. There is a point, however, where Immortals just bends over. Eventually, Immortals is going to starve so much, their bodies are going to get so frail, Varus is going to go, you know, he's just going to ask them what's good and shoot an arrow, and they're going to suffocate the sides, and they're going to prevent any angle of attack from Rengar and Zed, and then Immortals is just going to bend over. They're just going to keel. Doesn't make any sense. You can't do this. You can't. You stick 4 to a middle lane, or you stick 4 to a mid lane or a neutral lane, and you keep the one person that can stand against Zed and Maokai in the opposing lane. Now, obviously, in this instance, it's only going to be Maokai, right? But it doesn't make any sense. Why is Corki there? Of course Corki's going to get nuked. It doesn't even matter about his QSS. That's like what Zed wants. The other thing that I should say is when I watch these games, okay, for the most part, I only look at this about literally 10% of the time. My eyes are on here 90% of the time, because this is all that matters. In my opinion, and I can present facts and stuff that would advocate for it and back it up. That if you're in chat right now and you're wondering about analysis and coaching, this doesn't matter. This only matters 10%. This matters 90%. This is it. All of this is what matters. I guess in some cases this as well. Like if we break it up into more percentages, you know what I mean? But this part of the screen, it doesn't matter. It matters. Well, it does matter. I don't mean that it... Don't take 10% as 0%. Okay, so when I say this matters 10%, okay, there is a 1 in front of this 0. Okay, this is not just, this doesn't matter at all. Because I feel like some people misinterpret me saying that it's 10%, and they think that I just mean it doesn't matter at all. It does matter, but very seldom does it matter. They can't. They don't know how to fight against this. They have no idea how to fight back against Immortals. It just comes down to a flaw in their understanding of their team comp and what their strengths and weaknesses of that comp are, but not just their team comp, but also what Immortals needs. Okay? If you understand your opponent, you know, then... Well, I forgot what the quote is. Know thy enemy, know thyself, or something like that. If you know exactly what your opponents want, you can only just work against that. You don't even need to know what you don't want. Look. The only fights they had any chance winning were the direct, straight runway fucking plane flights. Oh my god. Yeah, 3 QSSs. Must be nice. Must be nice. They also should not have gone 3 sweepers. That doesn't make any sense. 3 sweepers is a poor decision. They should be going 2 yellow trinkets. Actually, maybe even an NRG. Well, no, okay. I guess they need to rotate their reds and yellow trinkets, NRG. But anyways, I guess this game is over? Why is there... What? Why is there 13 minutes left? They need to 1-3-1 with Rengar in mid. Or, they need to 1-1-3 with Rengar in mid. honestly, funneling some gold. There's something about macro-wise about League that I never got to experiment with, and I actually discussed it with Thorin. And if I ever, for some reason, coach a team again, I definitely will see if it works. And I think that if it does work, and to my knowledge, it should work, I think it changes a huge part of how League is played. I think it's not necessarily a meta change. It is a change in the fundamental meta, and in the fundamental core of League, but I think that would be good. Anyways, so that's it for this, and that's it. So I think this VOD is a very good example of why. I mean, we went over a lot of things. Obviously, I was at times too, so I might have missed some stuff. I might have even misspoke a few times, and so I apologize for that. But this is a very good example of why picks and bans don't mean as much as people think. Because even though we saw... Now, obviously, some fights, Immortals messed up their... the Immortals did play into the picks and bans thing. But it did not, in the grand scheme of things, okay, in the big picture, it did not play into it. Okay? Or NRG, yeah.